everybody. This is the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
And on this week's episode, we're going to talk about the new action flick, Hannah, starring Eric Bana and Saoirse Ronan. And then we're going to talk about Your Highness, the Danny McBride, James Franco flick, which has just brought a smile to John's face. And I don't know if that means it's good or bad or
it's not a good
just
smile.
completely absurd. And then we're going to talk about the remake of Author, starring Russell Brand and Greta Gerwig and Jennifer Garner.
Oh, and Helen Mirren.
And Helen Mirren, who's hot.
She's like, still hot.
Like, at what? She's early 60s. And
she's ageless.
Yeah, man. She's got that something. She's got that something
that Steve wants.
It's not a John Gielgud something. It's
that's. I'm glad you had to make that point on the radio or on the podcast. All right, so we start with Hannah.
Yeah, let's do it. Hannah. A teenage girl goes out into the world for the first time and has to battle for her life. That's the one line.
Okay.
Hannah, played by Saoirse Ronan, is 16 years old. She's bright, inquisitive, and a devoted daughter. Uniquely, she has the strength, the stamina, and the smarts of a soldier. And these come from being raised by her widowed father, Eric, played by Eric Bana, an ex-CIA man, in the woods of North Finland. Eric has taught Hannah to hunt, put her through extreme self-defense workouts, and homeschooled her with only an encyclopedia and a book of fairy tales. Hannah has been living a life unlike any other teenager. Her upbringing and training have been one and the same, all geared towards making her the perfect assassin. But out in the world, there's unfinished business for Hannah's family. She is separated from Eric and embarks on a mission that she was always destined for. Before she and her father can reunite as planned in Berlin, Hannah is captured by agents dispatched by a ruthless intelligence operative, Marissa Wiegler, played by Cate Blanchett. Detained for observation and held beneath the Moroccan desert, Hannah soon turns the tables on her captors. Her daring escape to above ground thrusts her into an unfamiliar landscape and world which she must quickly learn to comprehend and navigate. As Hannah journeys across Europe and nears her ultimate target, she faces startling revelations about her existence and unexpected questions about her humanity.
Is that it?
That's it.
Directed by Joe Wright? Is that
yeah, the guy who directed Atonement.
And Pride and Prejudice, the Keira Knightley Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah,
which
he has a surprisingly literary background for a guy who struggled with being, a literary student. So he's dyslexic.
Oh, I didn't know.
He has always had a problem, with the combinations of words and seeing, meaning in words. But he sees, in a way, I guess he says he became a director because he sees meanings in images.
Huh.
So it's
surprising. I know there was some action set pieces in Atonement, but it really wasn't an action movie.
Yeah.
And Hannah is an action movie.
Yeah.
Non-stop, full throttle action movie.
Yeah.
Which was, it reminded me of Run Lola Run.
That's a good connection.
This slows down a little bit, and I think it suffers when it slows down a bit. It doesn't. I don't think the drama holds up as well as the action. But Run Lola Run, I think, had a more intense pacing. Yeah, didn't she have to get it done in a certain time period, whatever she had to do, so she, as the title would tell you, she had to run.
It's very time-oriented. This has generally I would say it has a really good pacing, but it sort of reminded me of the feeling I got when I saw The Professional, and that there's sort of a European. I don't quite know how to describe what is a European tone. What is
European sensibility?
A European sensibility. There's something.
That's critic speak.
It's cinematic in that way, and a little exotic. I think that is because that's the impression I get because of Saoirse Ronan's screen presence. I mean, she's not 12 years old. She's not 16. She's like, she's waif-like. Yeah. And ethereal in a way. She's sort of like.
But kicks ass.
Yeah, she could play.
Well, she did that in Lovely Bones. She was the same. I think it's Remember, she was in Atonement too. She got the Oscar nomination, being the evil sister in Atonement.
Yeah, well, she could play. Who's that girl from? Who's the girl who plays the Ice Queen in the Narnia films?
Yeah, the redheaded lady.
The Beach, Constantine. She starred in I Am Love. Tilda Swinton. Tilda Swinton could play her mom. Yes. She's like a young Tilda Swinton.
What did you think? I mean, I think we both enjoyed the action.
I did.
But what did you think of the acting in this movie?
I think Saoirse Ronan is a fine young actress. Of course, she's playing off like that Ice Queen kind of thing, but it plays into her character in a way that works because she's supposed to not have emotion. She's supposed to just be a killing machine. At least that's how her father, Eric, raised her.
And I think she did a great job of showing this character as she goes out into the real world and discovers stuff like music and other people she becomes friends with, and she has these moments where she's she's a teenager.
It's a fish out of water story.
But then the killer instinct comes in and she ends up, throttling someone who tries to kiss her or something like that. It's just, but I think her talent comes from having that waif-like presence and either switching it to that wide-eyed wonder of seeing the world or killing people.
Well, that's the thing here, is that she's so adept at being what she was trained to be. Her father didn't train her in any of the social how to survive socially, which is sort of brought to the front when she makes friends with this girl, Sophie. Let's step back here. So it's basically she's been trained all of her life in North Finland. She's had no exposure whatsoever.
Beautiful North Finland.
Yeah. No exposure to the contemporary world. And when she knows that she has to go on this mission, so part of this mission is that she's going to meet with her father in Berlin. They're going to be separated. She's going to meet with her father in Berlin.
Right.
Marissa's agents capture Hannah, and she wakes up in this high-tech cell, which sort of represents everything that she has never seen before. Modern technology, all of it, exemplified in this cell, and here she's she could have starred in the movie, what was that one that was she's had a life that was basically like Meek's Cutoff. She could have been,
without the snazzy pioneer clothes.
Right. I mean, she's had a pioneer life.
But she's just been.
Now she's in a cell.
Well, it's also, she has been trained to be a killer, but she's also been trained just to be an instrument of her father's revenge.
Yeah.
And so he doesn't. That's one of the stumbling blocks I have, is that he doesn't teach her any of his social graces, and Vanna never really shows anything.
Well, I think it's also a matter of responsibility, because he knows something about her that she doesn't know.
Right. The big reveal.
Yeah. So it's Hannah surviving in this high-tech world, or breaking out of it, which I think is a terrific scene. Coupled with the Chemical Brothers music, as she breaks out of this facility, which is pretty cool. And she's got to get to Berlin, and she runs into this hippie family. That's not stupid. No, hippie yet not stupid.
Yeah.
And
hippies in a good way.
Yeah, and they have a teenage girl and a son, and the teenage girl is just your typical everything. How would you say? Completely shallow.
Well, she's
Lady Gaga fan.
She's the polar opposite of Hannah in that she's just so immersed in culture. She's got
and so highly emotional.
Yeah, there's nothing else but culture about this woman. It's all this young girl.
So they develop a bond, which Hannah, through her limited capabilities in social interaction, is able to establish a connection with, and it's amusing.
Yeah.
She's actually, the girl that is trained to be so completely capable has no capabilities in terms of social interaction, and she follows Sophie through this first date. It's a subplot thing. Yeah, it's a subplot thing, but it actually slows the movie down in a way, but it adds the necessary humor. I mean, because Sophie's actually pretty darn funny.
Funny / annoying. You know,
she
wore pretty thin. I wore pretty thin of her after a while. One of the things is that I wanted to talk about was having Kate Blanchett as the CIA operative.
Right.
She's a terrific actress.
She is, and she is maniacal in this role.
But
she's just...
I just thought, for some reason, she's got a funny lisp, and she brushes her teeth to the point they bleed. She's just some kind of self-inflicted speech impediment.
She has an incredible shoe collection.
What does that have to do with anything? Why do we have to watch her brush her teeth till they bleed?
Well, because she's... It's just an example of the lengths that she'll go to get it's an example of her perfection. I just thought in order to be so clean and objective driven that it actually hurts other things. She's actually she's hurting.
Pretty weak. I know what you're saying, but I didn't think it was developed well or even necessary.
But her single-mindedness is actually kind of comical in a way. So the movie does sort of, one can say it's a mechanical action thriller, but it does have a good sense of humor about itself, which you have to have.
I didn't find it. I thought there were funny parts, but I think it took itself pretty seriously.
Jason Fleming as her hitman.
Oh, that guy was
Sebastian.
So annoying to have him flounce around like this, gay killer with his awful blonde hair and tight shorts. Why? And
have such a nonchalant attitude about the violence that he inflicts.
Yeah, I just thought
he's so assured of the pain that he will deliver that it's...
I thought it was a total distraction. It had nothing to do with... It gave me something to laugh at, but I don't think it added anything. Why put something to laugh at in a movie like that? You can have...
Well, he's the element that has to, confront Eric Bana.
Yeah.
In a way, Inevitably, this is the.
But why does he have to be?
He's going to be part of the showdown. The guy that just won't go away. He's going to pursue Hannah, and then there's going to be the, the inevitable confrontation.
Right, but why does he have to be a lisping caricature like that? Is that the comedy we're going for?
There's just ways that people define their characters, and that's what they chose to do with him.
Yeah,
they could have gone. His two cronies are basically skinheads. Nothing original there.
I mean, they could have found humor. I just think it didn't work for me for humor. I just found him as annoying as the little girl, but with no purpose. I was glad when bad things happened to him, but I just thought he was this cardboard cutout. There's nothing there but that surface you see, and they make him do bad things. I didn't think it added and it just pulled me out every time he showed up.
He's just a menace. He's just an irritating menace. And you're going to find this sort of amusing in that I kind of liken it to, remember Repo Men, where the absurdities aren't really plausible until you find out, until the end, until the reveal. So some of the just completely absurd stuff that Hannah does is explained, but while you're watching it, you're like, oh, Jesus, man, impossible. Yeah. You stick with the movie. It explains itself. It is neat to watch, this girl that's capable of doing these things in such a cold-hearted way.
Right.
And it's cool.
I think it's a lot of fun, but I think it's also very forgettable. It's not going to stick with me. I can feel it kind of drifting out of my memory as the next movie comes along.
This movie's going to resonate with a certain crowd. I think if I had a film like this 20 years ago in the 80s, I'd be all about it. I'd be like, wow, terrific.
Parts of the professional still stick with you, right?
Yeah.
See, parts of this won't. I don't know if it's because it reminded me so much of The Professional, or just that The Professional was that much. I think
it's also a movie that filmmakers can really appreciate. Oh, sure. No CGI. All of the action was done, on location by the actors. There is a Steadicam shot in this movie that just blew me away. I loved it. There's a scene in the film where Eric Bana is trying to get to the meeting point in Berlin, and he meets Marissa's cronies in the subway. The entire shot is one Steadicam shot of the entire fight. which plays out. And like if you have and having film crew experience, you know that from a Hitchcock perspective, if you do like a 10-minute take, you have to get it all. You have to get all the beats have to be correct. So it's teamwork. When you get a 2-minute, 3-minute shot like that, it's all done in one take. Everybody on the crew, the camera crew, the director, the actors, the stunt people, they all have to hit their marks. And when you do it, when you get that shot, man, that is just, it's like on a film crew, it's fucking awesome.
But
and they did this. They did it 6 times.
For the crew. But what about the audience?
John, it was cool on screen. It was. That fight scene was cool on screen, you have to admit.
No, I don't.
Yes, it was.
I don't have to admit that. Here's my problem.
John,
Joe Wright
that Steadicam shot.
No, wait. You're talking about the shot, not the story. The shot is what you think is cool.
It proves that he is capable of, taking down the.
No, it's more about showing what.
To throw now.
It's showing more about what the director can do with a Steadicam.
Well, admittedly, because he's dyslexic and he tells his stories visually and things have to play out that way for him. Yeah.
Do you remember?
He's telling the story with the camera.
You remember? No. Do you remember Atonement?
Yeah.
There's a Steadicam. There's a 360-degree Steadicam shot of the landing at Dunkirk, where he just pans slowly in a big circle. He shows you everything that's going on at the landing, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful shot. And when I interviewed him for Atonement, he talked about the setting up and how many times.
And I know what you're going to say. You're going to say to me, "How does this factor?"
No, it's
an indulgent filmmaking moment.
You bet it is.
I didn't think that this fight. I thought this is the fight that had to happen, and it was cool. The way they filmed it.
All right, that's fine.
We're filming the actual the wanting to put in a great, technically proficient shot destroys the film. I don't think so.
I don't think it destroyed it, but I don't think
it takes you out of what you think where the story's supposed to go.
No, I just think it's showing off. I don't think it's an integral part of that scene. It's showing off. All of it is.
Is Hitchcock showing off?
Yeah. Most of his movies are showing off.
But is it not ingenious?
No, I'm not that big. I'm not that big a Hitchcock fan. A lot of his shots are the same thing. It's him showing off.
Well, he's, I think, more practical. Like if you take, I'm going to take the jump Hitchcock. And compare what they're doing here to what Hitchcock might do. And I'll do this really quickly. They show since he's trying to tell this movie from Hannah's perspective, you look at the film. The film is, photographed. It's, it's through the tunnel view of her life. When she's, in her prairie-like upbringing. It's through the, through the roof, through the thatches of this set. When you see her in the contemporary, in the contemporary. When you see her in the contemporary world, it's through the tunnels of the cell, right. That she's in, right. or even for another character that appears later in the film, the guy who is their connection, is Eric's connection on the outside that tries to help Hannah. His world is basically through amusement park rides.
Right.
Basically what Wright does is he positions little things in front of the camera that say this is who the character is you're photographing.
Okay.
When you photograph the guy who's the amusement park guy, you get some of the amusement things in the foreground. Mm-hmm. When you're establishing Hannah as having this little house on the prairie upbringing, you have those elements that are in the front of the camera. That's something Hitchcock wouldn't do.
All right, so
he doesn't. Hitchcock is he found if you're going to do some sort of a prairie shot, the last thing he would do is put a freaking flower in front of the film. I guess what I'm saying is well, maybe you could see it as showing off. Maybe you could see it as being pretentious. But Hitchcock sees that kind of putting little tiny things in front of the camera and then focusing on the character in the background as useless. He sees that as he would see that as pretentious.
But
is my interpretation.
Every other shot that Joe puts in these, all of the action scenes are equally well photographed and staged and worked out. Mm. But this one he did the big showpiece of this fight in the subway.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say that it's a big showpiece. I would say it's a filmmaking conceit. And really cool.
Which means?
It's showy.
All right.
Well, okay, yeah.
It reminds me of, you ever seen Rope for the Hitchcock thing? You've seen Rope, right? Yeah. Shot in 10-minute segments and all that stuff. It's great technically. Movies, not.
I think we took that too far, but
right,
let's just try to make the point. But I just thought it was totally cool. Okay. Anyway, I think it's a cool film. I think the Chemical Brothers score added a lot to it.
I think it's a lot of fun. But like I said, to me, I'm already forgetting bits and pieces of it. So nothing really.
It'll come back. I think there's this thing going on with like these waif-like female killers, with
Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch and Hit Girl and Hannah. I think that there's probably.
What was Hit Girl? No, help me out. What's Hit Girl? Is that the name of? I thought you meant that was the name of a movie. Hit Girl.
No.
Yes, Kick-Ass. We won't be dragging up that again.
Moving on.
Okay. But honestly, we both recommend seeing this. It is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a cool movie. It's a cool movie. Strange that it came from the director of Pride and Prejudice and Atonement, but yes, cool movie. Moving on. Arthur with Russell Brand. Greta Gerwig.
Is there any need to remember the original at all?
Well,
besides that Christopher Cross song.
Oh my God! Which they get you at the end. It gets a contemporary updating, and it's just like
you think you're safe.
We didn't need
over
that.
The end credits.
We did not need it.
No.
I want to say, I fell for this movie.
Yep.
I mean, I can be such a schmo. I can be such a sucker because when they have bears on screen hugging, it's so cute.
Oh my! That's what got you.
Oh God, man! It pushed the triggers, the buttons, the things. God damn it, man!
Don't you dare cut this pot out. Don't you dare cut this bear confession out. And by bears, he means animals, not large, hairy
hugging bears.
I went into this loaded for bear because I'm not a huge Russell Brand fan. He kind of drives me nuts. And I think he's the weakest thing in this movie, but I think he works. He gives a pretty good performance.
Oblivious. He's funny. He's funny. I questionably recommend this movie. Like I don't know. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it's not.
But I think he works because of the people around him. The scenes with Helen Mirren are classics. Their repartee back and forth.
I wouldn't say they're classics. I'd say
they're what makes the movie work for me. The same with Greta Gerwig. It's the two of them together. A little less with
Jennifer Garner.
Yes.
She's well cast, though. I will go out and say she is brave for doing this to herself again. She's in the role of the bitch that nobody wants to be with.
The beautiful, sexy bitch.
She was like this in Juno. She's doing it again. This is her thing. She was like this in what was the Ricky Gervais film, The Invention of Lying. Mm-hmm. Although, she did, get together with him at the end of that. But she's making some coin off the icy bitch rolls.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's hard to do.
You better read the plot to this one.
Arthur. In this fresh new look at a classic story, Russell Brand reinvents the role of a lovable billionaire Arthur Bach, an irresistible charmer who has always relied on two things to get by: his limitless fortune and the good sense of his lifelong nanny and best friend Hobson, played by Helen Mirren. Kind-hearted, fun-loving, and utterly without purpose, Arthur spends every day in the heedless pursuit of amusement. But when his unpredictable public image threatens the staid reputation of the family foundation, Bach Worldwide, he is given an ultimatum: marry the beautiful but decidedly unlovable Susan Johnson, played by Jennifer Garner, an ambitious corporate exec who can keep him in line, or say goodbye to his billion-dollar inheritance and the only way of life he knows. It's a deal Arthur would be inclined to take if he hadn't just fallen for Naomi, played by Greta Gerwig, a New York City tour guide who shares his idealism and spontaneity. The independent Naomi sees Arthur not only for who he is, but for who he could be, and finally gives him a reason to take charge of his own life. All Arthur needs to do is stand up for what he wants. But at what cost? And then there's Louis Guzman.
Yeah. I always like to see Louis get a paycheck.
His oblivious manservant.
Yeah, he's... Anyway,
I like Arthur's taste in cars.
Yeah, classic.
He
movie
tends
cars.
to get a kick out of movie cars.
Well, that's
the Mystery Machine.
That's the Dukes of Hazzard mobile.
Yeah,
that's one of the prejudices movies. Just the wide-eyed drunken wonder that Brand brings to everything. Whether it's and he makes comments about that's how I stave off death is I have fun at everything. And it is fun to watch him just kind of stumble around or stumble through. But the thing, like I said before, the thing that really got me was when he interacts with the other people who are not so much his mom or the people who don't get him.
It's how he responds to the world at large.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
Yeah, very charming too, and pretty smart script. I like the way Greta Gerwig in particular has lines that you don't expect and delivers them pretty well.
Yeah, I was wondering how she was going to work out in this.
This
but
is a
she
big
is,
move for her. This is big time for Indie Queen.
She's good.
Not
she
great.
is likable, not great. She's she doesn't have like these classic movie star looks. She's very ordinary girl kind of thing, which
fits
really
Brand because he's not classically beautiful in any way either.
They are opposites.
Yeah,
they are opposites. On the surface, he should be with Jennifer Garner.
Oh yeah, and he has been as far as we can tell from the movie. He just didn't like her or moved on.
It was just too high flying. And the way he throws around money in the movie, it's just
nice, isn't it?
There's just some completely absurd scene where he goes to the ATM and withdraws, like $100,000 and throws it around.
Yeah,
please.
Well, that's part of his drunken embarrassment charm, I guess. It's not supposed to be real, Steve. He didn't really, I don't think it's.
Yeah,
it says anything about his character besides that he's just an idiot with money.
And he should actually probably still be in jail for the fact that he just crashed the Batmobile into one of the stanchions out in front of Wall Street.
Giant balls.
I mean, what does that get you in New York? But he could probably,
it depends on if you're rich.
It's not that he would have a problem making.
If you're that rich, what do you think it gets you in New York?
Yeah.
A lot better than if you or I, had a stolen or had a Batmobile and crashed, or even a Hugo and crashed it.
His carelessness is amusing, but also his carefreeness.
Yeah.
His unstoppable positive attitude. I mean, if we had like a negative evil Arthur.
Right,
it could have been interesting, but sky's the limit for this guy's positive attitude. But then it's always money that comes to the rescue.
Right.
Money solves all of his problems.
Until he decides that he'd rather marry for love than for money and gives up his inheritance and has to learn, has to go get a job.
Yeah, but the movie takes the cheap way out.
The ending takes the cheap way out.
Obviously, they couldn't have been, like money can't go away, won't go away.
Right.
It would be absurd for it to go away.
My two biggest complaints is the way they end this movie. It's kind of like a hammer to the head because you want to follow this path he's taken, and then they undercut everything he's done.
There really wasn't anything to justify him being, on the side, I'm super smart.
Right.
I know stuff. I know how to, invest in everything.
My other stumbling block with this one is this horrible performance by Nick Nolte as Jennifer Garner's dad.
It's a blockhead performance. I think he's well cast, but it's.
I could barely understand what he said.
There's something unmovable about him. Like
he's veering into Gary Busey territory.
Yeah, he did seem very animated.
But inappropriately.
Yeah.
He was awful. He was just awful. I don't know why, again, I'm glad he got a paycheck, but
are you?
No, not really. He needs to be. See, someone like Guzman, he's such a hard worker.
I don't care if any of them get a paycheck.
Wow.
I really don't.
Why not? They work hard for this.
I care that I get a paycheck.
Yeah. Do you think the critics were lined up ready to hate this before they even saw it? Some of the reviews are downright mean.
I think so.
I've been mean to movies before, but
I think generally, in a general sense, when you have a film that's supposed to be just sort of a happy-go-lucky type of film,
right?
It's setting itself up to be shot down.
And remakes have that kind of going for them anyway. But this is a remake of a Dudley Moore, Liza Minnelli comedy. I don't see. It's not like when Gus Van Sant remade Psycho, or I'm sure there's some other blasphemous remake out there. But I think they did a good job updating it a little bit, and I don't remember liking the first one that much. Dudley Moore is...
No, but it was a huge hit.
Yeah.
It made a ton of money.
Liza Minnelli.
I thought she was actually kind of good looking at that time in her career.
Really?
I kid you not.
How old were you?
I was like 15, I think.
Ooh.
Came out. 81,
we're learning
82.
things about you on this podcast.
Yeah.
Your affection for bears. You're lusting after Liza.
Well, I've always loved bears. My Indian guide's name was Smiling Bear. It was always Bear.
Indian guide?
Indian guides. When I was a kid, my dad did Indian guides. It's like Boy Scouts, except...
Oh, okay.
Indians,
all right.
type thing.
I didn't know that was. You can cut that out. That was for my clarification.
My dad was Running Bear. I was Smiling Bear.
Wow.
Yeah, I was...
And what was Mike?
9, 10 years old. Mike wasn't born yet.
Oh, okay.
This was Steve at 7, Steve at 8. So,
It would be serious.
Mike, only one of my many brothers.
Yeah, this is, again, I think it's a piece of fluff. I wouldn't want to go back and see it because you kind of miss the spontaneous.
When it comes up on HBO, I wouldn't turn it off.
Right, but I mean, I wouldn't, because part of the charm is not knowing where it's going to go and watching.
And the correct word here, I think, is charm.
Yeah,
Russell Brand is charming, amusing. His reactions are, it has its pop culture references too.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly when Helen Mirren Hobson has to put on the Darth Vader helmet and talk the way
you're winky.
Right. Well,
let's just. Well, that was a line from the first one too, John Gielgud.
I think that I enjoyed seeing Helen Mirren as Hobson, but I think that and taking the movie out of just looking at it as the artifact that it is and comparing it to the first Arthur, I liked the staidness of John Gielgud, which isn't so much a factor in Helen Mirren's performance. I mean, yeah, she gets rubbed the wrong way by things that Arthur does, but not in the uptight, classy butler way that John Gielgud might.
Right. But I think it helped the repartee between the two of them because, as I remember, Gielgud would shoot barbs at Arthur, but you never really felt it was a conversation.
Right. I think if I recall, it was more like Gielgud playing to us.
Right.
The audience.
Oh, yeah. And here Mirren is definitely playing to Arthur, plus she's hot. So, yeah. Can we do a whole show on Helen Mirren and her hotness?
Let's do Helen Mirren.
Yeah, let's do Helen Mirren and her hotness. But anyway.
But man, Peter Keogh didn't like it at all. I was just reading Peter's review right before the recording. And what did he call it, Gerwig? A narcoleptic Betty Boop.
It's a clever line, but I think it's just Peter being clever.
Well, he's got a point. He was really irritated with the film, but I didn't get that same feeling. I actually kind of enjoyed it. I just don't know if I want to say, hey, yeah, it's worth $10 to see.
Well, matinee it.
Yeah. Your Highness with Danny McBride. Oh man, the look on your face after this. I really wanted to like this movie, but it fails.
Okay.
It fails.
I was waiting for the classic. I digged it. Because, really.
No, it just does not kick into gear, and...
I wanted to like it, too.
It's, stuck.
Yeah.
It doesn't fly.
No.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was maybe I had a idea of what I wanted Danny McBride to do or be. I mean, was he going to be the Kenny Powers that I love?
Well, I think McBride works in small doses. Half hour on, HBO, 10 minutes in Due Date. They make him the anchor for this whole movie, and a romantic lead, and it doesn't work. And I think it's...
Well, I think the movie just doesn't have a real character focus to begin with for the first 45 minutes, because it seemed, they set him up as the, the slacker, the guy who's hooked on wizard weed, the guy who just wants to, hang in his brother's shadow. Or no, let me rephrase that. The guy who's benefiting from living in the shadow of his brother's greatness.
No responsibility.
Yeah.
I can't be that great, so why try?
Yeah, and the movie, I'll get into the summary in a sec, but the movie is it's kind of edited around James Franco. It's sort of like halfway through, you're like, wow, this is kind of is this a team thing? Is who's what's the deal here? And actually, Danny McBride's objective isn't so entirely clear. There needed to be something stronger. Something does come along,
right?
And his search for a lady, something to really drive his passion. But the movie just falls flat. It's an amusement. It's not great.
I didn't even think it was amusing. But let people hear the synopsis.
Your Highness. Throughout history, tales of chivalry have burnished the legends of brave, handsome knights who rescued fair damsels, slay dragons, and conquer evil. But behind many a hero is a good-for-nothing younger brother who's just trying to stay out of the way of those dragons, evil, and trouble in general. Danny McBride and James Franco team up for an epic comedy adventure set in a fantastical world. As two princes on a daring mission to save their land, they must rescue their heir apparent's fiancée before their kingdom is destroyed. Thaddeus McBride has spent his life watching his perfect older brother, Fabius, James Franco, embark upon valiant journeys and win the hearts of his people. Tired of being passed over for adventure, adoration, and the throne, he's settled for a life of wizard's weed, hard booze, and easy maidens. But when Fabius's bride-to-be, Belladonna, played by Zooey Deschanel, gets kidnapped by the evil wizard Lazar, played by Justin Theroux, the king gives his downbeat son an ultimatum: man up and rescue her or get cut off. Half-assedly embarking on his first quest, Thaddeus joins Fabius to trek across the perilous outlands and free the princess. Joined by Isabel, played by Natalie Portman, an elusive warrior with a dangerous agenda of her own, the brothers must vanquish horrific creatures and traitorous knights before they can reach Belladonna. If Thaddeus can find his inner hero, he can help his brother prevent the destruction of his land.
What'd you think of the look of the film?
I enjoyed it. It got better. I mean, of course, the massive CGI comes in midway to establish, that this isn't just some, build a couple of sets in England and film some stuff in a forest. So it actually looked pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that's the thing. I thought it looked cool, and then the actors would show up and be like, don't.
But this is sort of like the genesis of the movie seems like, wouldn't it be funny if...
I was trying not to cough. The genesis of the movie is...
Well, it seems like they got together and said, wouldn't it be funny if, we put them in this situation, they talk like this, and they seem just kind of trapped. They seem like they're working within the bounds of, gotta get this English accent right. You don't have the freewheeling comments that we've come to love from Danny McBride that happen really fluidly.
No, it's almost like, and when you're watching it, you'll notice this, is that the camera suddenly freezes on him and he says a funny line.
There's some funny reaction shots every now and then.
Yeah, but there's no flow. Like you said, there's no flow to it. There's no give and take. It's kind of like, scripts, line on line, funny line, line on line.
This is a movie that's going to play to the college crowd.
Well, whole, I don't even know if it'll do that.
Slacker burnout. This is funny.
It's a stoner comedy, man. We gotta go. But the thing is, the reason the successful stoner comedies work is that they're smart comedies underneath all the haze of, remember Half Baked? Mm-hmm. I loved Half Baked. And early Cheech and Chong. There's
a conceit.
Yeah.
Shared knowledge.
But these, but the thing is, for stoner comedies, you need to be more, it's not like you're stoned and watching it, where you can just show, there's a scene with a Minotaur in this movie. Mm-hmm. And Danny McBride's character, Thaddeus, collects a prize after killing the...
Visually repulsive.
I
could not watch the screen for the 10 minutes.
But he takes a prize from the fallen beast.
Oh, man.
And wears it around his neck. And then that joke is just
fucking
thrown in our face, haha, throughout. And it's like, okay, it might have been a smile when it happened, but it's not funny just to see that over and over and over again.
Drilled it to death.
Yeah.
It's and it needed to go. And with the idea that he was going to be wearing this around his neck until the end of the movie, I was like, fuck, man, I just didn't want to watch the screen.
No. But did you like to watch the screen when Natalie Portman went bathing?
Yeah. I mean, Natalie Portman, to me, in my opinion, she's in this movie because wouldn't it be nice to have Natalie Portman in a movie like this? Wouldn't that be the icing on the cake? Forgetting about any believability, she apparently plays this Han Solo type character. Comes in the middle of the movie that's supposed to provide Danny McBride's character some love direction. She's not believable in any way as someone who can take out 5 knights, and throw them around a alehouse.
None of them look like they can fight. None of them look good fighting at all.
If you look closely and you can see how this film is edited, she's just so waif-like.
Yeah,
it's a freaking absurd.
And then suddenly she goes to bathe and they spy on her, and all I can say is that the dancing, if this was made after Black Swan, the dancing really paid off.
But it's the way Natalie Portman delivers lines with her, I just not believable.
Zoe does not do much better.
But she actually, because of who she is, of how we know her from it is amusing that she's sort of that she's in the movie and so passive, whatever.
Yeah,
it's amusing. I did get a kick out of the exorcism type scene. That was freaky.
Yeah, but by then I've already suffered through an hour of this piece of shit, and I'm like, whatever.
Answer the question for me. In the scene where Natalie Portman appears, they have been captured, Thaddeus and Fabius. They're in this sort of Mad Max type of, Thunderdome type of situation, where they have to battle,
some guy who sticks his hand into some fat guy who sticks his hand in.
Is that the guy from played the two Tweedledee and Tweedledum in
Alice in Wonderland?
Yeah, in Alice in Wonderland.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I thought you might be able to. John.
So
answer these questions for me.
That one question I like to slide.
Yeah.
I don't know who he was. That was just another stupid thing. Why,
he sticks his hand in the mud and his hand becomes a 5-headed serpent hydra.
Yeah, that was really good.
Says John as he rolls his eyes.
I guess if I was high, I'd laugh at that.
Maybe that's the missing ingredient.
Maybe
that's what they.
But did you like Pineapple Express?
I did.
See, I felt the same.
The play between Seth Rogen and Danny McBride was great. Digged it.
No, that's the same kind of thing to me. It's lack of.
All right, stepping back for a sec. The story is propelled by the wedding. What happens at the wedding? Fabius is going to marry Zooey Deschanel's character. Fabius is, head knight, the tough guy, is offended by the fact that Thaddeus is going to be the best man. He just hasn't deserved it. Things move along. They have to, Zoe's been kidnapped. And so Fabius gets together his team of knights, and who you think you can trust. You can't. Toby Jones is sort of God. How would you describe Toby Jones's character in this? He's
like the court toady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Truman Capote toady.
Yeah. Capote toady. All right.
And so they head out on their expedition. There's this scene with a Yoda-like character that's actually pretty funny.
Giant turtle puppet.
Yeah, the turtle puppet thing where they, get their advice, their mission, their direction. And so, they go out, they got to go save Zoe from the tower, and that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. They face the 5-headed Hydra. They have their guys turn on them, so really it's just, Thaddeus and Fabius and Natalie Portman.
And they have to steal...
and their sidekick guy, I forget his name.
They have to steal it, though they have to find a sword made out of unicorn horn, because it's the only thing that can stop the evil wizard.
Right.
Played by Justin Theroux. Who seems to be having fun.
He enjoys the bad guy roles.
Yeah.
I really, I do like him.
He at least had energy.
He's amusing.
Yeah.
Did you ever see The Baxter?
Yeah.
Remember that where he played the perfect boyfriend in The Baxter? And then he was also the actor in Broken English who dumps Parker Posey.
That was a while ago, yeah. He's a good actor, and he has good range, and like I said, he takes this role and really brings it to life, even though it's a cheesy role. He does a good job of it. He at least he has more energy than the rest of the cast shows at any point. So, but it was again misplaced energy because I didn't think the script was working or the filming or anything.
Yeah, this is just a conglomeration of nonsense in many ways.
And Danny McBride deserves better. I know he co-wrote this and he's an executive producer.
David Gordon Green.
Yeah.
That guy's taken a different sort of career path.
Oh, from his early movies?
Yeah.
God.
You know, who'd have thought? You know, I was thinking, who'd have thought when he directed Pineapple Express?
Right.
You know, and I think Eastbound and Down is one of my favorite shows. Mm-hmm. Classic. Well, classic. I'm throwing that out there. But it's intensely funny.
Right.
Very funny. But this just does not match up.
No,
it's not worth the money. Basically, what I'm saying, everybody, is don't go.
Yeah. Save your time, save your money, save your brain cells, stoners. There's better comedy out there for you.
It's a clumsy film.
Yeah.
Man, Fix of the Week. Sean.
Go ahead.
Well, you know, I got a couple here. I couldn't just decide on one. So I got three things I'm going to say a few things about. The first of which is, surprisingly, Black Swan on Blu-ray. And as anybody who's listened to our prior episodes where we discussed Black Swan, I'm not entirely excited about the film. I think it's overrated.
Uh-huh.
But I really enjoyed the documentary that comes with the film, Metamorphosis, a behind-the-scenes documentary with Darren Aronofsky. And as extra features go, as supplemental material goes, this is a good documentary. It's really about the mechanics of the creation of the film and certain shots in the film, and it's artfully photographed, and I was very impressed with it.
Did it make
I found it, you know, it's... I tend to look at... go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'm going to say, did you watch the documentary and then rewatch the movie? Did it make it a better experience?
No, it didn't. The reason I'm recommending it is mainly for the documentary.
Okay.
Because, you know, when I watch things like this, and, you know, God knows we've seen tons of these making of things, you know, there's typically what you do is, what I do is I try to, you know, look for pieces of information, pieces of insight, and there's a few bits of advice that Aronofsky offers in the process of making this film that I thought were, you know, neat, enlightening. You know, how to tell the story. And one of the main things that I learned from the documentary is that Aronofsky is always chiefly concerned with subjectivity and how is subjectivity conveyed through his camera. And they show you how he creates these point of view shots that are quite neat. And you know, his theory of the idea that he makes his films that way is sort of like it was revealing to me.
Yeah.
And that's what I think what a good documentary does. You know, it teaches you something that's profound. You know, we think we know a lot about filmmaking, and then, you know, something else comes along, some other little element, some other little angle that a director has that, you know, you can use to
right.
You know, get his work done, and Aronofsky reveals.
You know, it's funny. I liked this movie a lot when I saw it, and I never want to see it again, because I think if I see it again, I'll realize it's not that good.
Yeah, it's you know, it's not a huge film. It's a small film. It's a compartmentalized film. It takes place in tight spaces. It's really well edited. But I think, like I said, it's overrated. I don't think it's as great as many people think it is. I think that Natalie Portman was cast on body type, and you know, that she's just great casting. But Aronofsky is a talented guy.
Oh, yeah.
And a smart guy. And I am impressed by it.
Did you like The Fountain? Yeah. I think that was a little overreaching, but it was, you know, pat on the back for trying.
Yeah, so I do recommend Black Swan, and definitely check out Metamorphosis. And also saw another film I want to recommend is Jack Nicholson's directorial effort, Drive, He Said, from 1970. It's in the Criterion Collection on America.
I'm so sorry. Another film you want to recommend?
It's a film that's included in the Criterion Collection's America, Lost and Found box set, the BBS story. BBS is a production company that produced, was headed by Bob Rafelson. The first film they made was Head in 1967, the Monkees flick. And then Easy Rider, Last Picture Show, Drive, He Said, A Safe Place, 5 Easy Pieces. God, was the other one?
King of Marvin Gardens.
King of Marvin. Very good. Thank you. Drive, he said, is written. Directed by Jack Nicholson, and it's a story of a basketball player at this college in Oregon who is going through all this trouble with his roommate, who's kind of ruining his life. But the roommate is an anti-war activist who decides that drugging himself will be enough to screw himself up to avoid the draft. But it screws up, the basketball player's performance and a lot of other things. And Bruce Dern plays the basketball coach. It's kind of a different role for him because I'm so used to seeing him in sort of a semi-Jack Nicholson type of thing, where he's like the anti-hero in a way. Probably will always be known to me as the guy who killed John Wayne and the Cowboys, but yeah, it's a little esoteric. I mean, of the films that BBS made, this is not as far out as A Safe Place, the Henry Jaglom film, but it's kind of out there. And it's representative of the time, and I can see why Jack Nicholson wanted to make it because it's about basketball.
Right.
It's about what it takes.
That's one of his passions.
Yeah. So I highly recommend it. I believe it's only available in the America Lost and Found box set, which is kind of a steep price, $100. But
how many movies are in the set?
All of the BBS films, so 6 or 7. Really a good piece on filmmaking from like 68 to 72, and how influential the BBS films were. And there's some great documentaries in there. Not a whole, there's only one short piece on Drive, he said, but there's some great stuff in all the supplemental material there. Also, there's an interview that Molly Haskell does with Peter Bogdanovich and Henry Jaglom for, I believe it was the New York Film Festival in 1971, about their two films, which is terrific. And as I had said earlier, that she's pretty hot still.
You don't hear that much about movie
Do you think
reviewers.
that tainted my ability to
never
criticize a film? But yeah, Drive, he said, it's a discovery. It's something I think Nicholson fans should see.
Are you a big Henry Jaglom fan?
No, I mean, I like what he did with A Safe Place. It's a strange film. It's the strangest of the ones that Rafelson and the crew produced. Esoteric, improvisational.
Right.
Orson Welles playing a strange musician in Central Park. In a way, it's kind of arrogant, but in a way, I also saw it as like contemporary as it was in 1970. It was, it was starting to mesh bits of pop culture. It's sort of makes me think of like, were Andy Warhol to direct a more straightforward Hollywood film, this is like the film that he would have made.
Right.
It's confessional. It's artsy, and kind of has that kind of feel to it. A Warhol Factory type of feel. The other thing I wanted to quickly recommend is Battle of Los Angeles. All right,
not Battle L.A.
We're going from Drive, he said, on Criterion to Battle of Los Angeles from the Asylum, which. As I was watching it earlier, I got to thinking that, man, this might be better than Battle LA. I'm already getting it mixed up. Battle of Los Angeles might be better than Battle LA.
There's no might about it, Steve. It is. It is. It's not that good a movie, but it's at least a regular movie. It's asylum stuff. So there's cheap special effects,
which are actually kind of amazing. I think they're actually getting better.
Yeah, that's the strange.
Isn't it weird? I mean, they've actually got some effects in this film, which I believe aired on Sci-Fi, that are plausible in terms of like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't look like they were projecting an image of a fire over a photo. It's actually integrated into the scene. There's a pop star, Nia Peebles, former pop star,
and Kel Mitchell from Galaxy Quest.
Yeah, it was fun. It was cheeseball fun.
It is. It is. I just was like, God damn, why am I having so much fun watching this damn piece of crap? And it's not as crappy as I thought it was going to be.
Right. It's actually a step up. The Asylum is, like you said, I think they're getting better.
Yeah, it's
but they churn them out like factory, you know. So they've got to. They're bound to learn something.
The thing that's sort of amusing me is like, are they actually doing something respectable? Did something actually work? Did they just kind of move themselves up out of the garbage can? I don't know. But Battle of Los Angeles, man. Check it out. John, what do you got?
I have what I think could be the funniest movie I've seen in, I don't know, years.
In decades?
In decades. It's called Anywhere USA. I'm sure a lot of people haven't heard about it. It's directed by a guy named Chusy, Chusy. Anytime you've got a low-budget film with a one-name director, I'm a little hesitant. But the cover had a picture of a midget with a giant handgun, and I was like, okay, I'll watch this. There's three. It's almost like 3 mini movies in here. I'm not really sure if they tie together well, but that's okay because each one works perfectly. First one is about this redneck who thinks his girlfriend he thinks his girlfriend is being seduced by terrorists because he finds out she's eating pistachios. And, you know, that's the chosen nut of the Taliban. At least that's what rednecks think. So they do this crazy thing when they're trying to prove that she's, you know, being seduced by terrorists. The second is a story about a little girl who tries to prove the tooth fairy. She wants to know if the tooth fairy really exists or if adults are lying to her. And she does it by getting drunk and pulling out one of her own teeth and putting it under her pillow. It's dark. It's crazy.
All right.
Third one is about this rich suburban man who's the major characteristic about this guy is he has a great beard, very distinguished beard. And at dinner one day he looks up at his wife and goes, you know, I don't think I know any black people. And so he goes off on a quest to find black people. My words aren't going to do it justice. It's really dark. It's really offbeat, and it's pretty funny.
What company put this on?
MVB Distribution out of Detroit. Yeah, it's this company I've dealt with for years. They just they do some odd stuff. A lot of music documentaries that they didn't contact the band about.
Yeah.
So it'll be like a documentary about Pearl Jam, and they'll have interviews with critics talking about Pearl Jam, and they'll have photographs of Pearl Jam, but they'll never talk to anyone from Pearl Jam. They don't have money to pay for any music from Pearl Jam, but it's the untold story, the unofficial story. They do a lot of that stuff. Some of them are good. It's like The Asylum. They get better, you know. They did one about Lou Reed, David Bowie, and Iggy Pop that was actually really well done. The one on Pearl Jam was terrible. You know, it's like I don't need to listen to some rock critic tell me that Pearl Jam's great. I want Eddie Vedder to tell me, you know, but they with no budget, you know, they can't. But this one was really a kick. It was so I was fascinated by the whole thing. I was laughing all the way through it, but I was also fascinated because I never knew where it was going. So that would be my pick. Anywhere USA.
All right. I will definitely check it out. I'm going to look it up. I'm going to Google Anywhere USA.
No.
So I think we're done.
Yeah.
Unless?
No.
Yeah. Check us out online. All of our episodes are on post-movie.net, and we're also on Facebook, so a like is good. We can add a collection of likes on Facebook.
Sure.
And leave us a review on iTunes. That would be great. I think we've been asking for a while, but haven't really gotten anything. So we'll keep on asking and keep on hoping and praying that we'll get some positive reviews on iTunes, and that more people out there will subscribe to us. So until next week, I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
Thanks for listening, everyone.